2 o'clock like just popped up on me, man. Hi, everybody.
Looks like you're all prepared over there.
Yeah, I'm prepared. I was just doing other things. And anyway, hi. Welcome back for those of you who are back today. And welcome back to those of you who are watching the video. Good to see you guys here. Let's see who we got. Oh, lots of good people in the house. Yay. All right.
I see some people are just popping on today, so if you missed day 1 and 2, be sure to watch the replays on those. We covered a lot of great information, plus those 2 delicious recipes, and today is going to be even better because it's a sweet treat.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about this treat because I get to eat it after I make it.
Oh yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, before we get into the recipe today, we wanted to kind of cover some of the things that we promised we'd talk about with the sugar-free challenge. And I'm curious to see in the chat if anybody has took it as of day 1 and started like eliminating sugar. I'd be curious to hear how you guys did with it. And if anybody wants to talk at the end and tell us about your experience so far, we'd love to hear that too. Because basically the reason we're doing this is we really want to support you in, transforming your lives. I mean, that's basically what Caitlin and I's mission is to help people. Like when people ask me what I do, I'm like, well, I help people to find, their best life, to mind, body, spirit, like to envelop all of the things and like move forward into a life that feels good, that you can wake up feeling good in your body and just good moods and feeling more grounded and whole and all those things. So, we really want to support you in doing this. And I hope you guys know that.
Yeah, and I have seen a lot of people posting their recipes in the Facebook group. So write in the chat, let's hear from you. We want to hear how it's going.
Yeah.
A lot of people made their soup yesterday, which looked delicious.
I know. Yeah, actually, if you guys were wondering what was on top of mine, I forgot to say it, but I sprinkled some hemp seeds on the top, and then I lightly blended the kale in. You guys probably saw it on the Facebook post, but it turned out really good. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so let's just jump right in. And one of the first things we're going to cover today is what is the #1 biggest mistake that people make, or what is the biggest thing? Like, why do so many people go off sugar, but then they go back on? Like, what is that? What is it that keeps you going back? And believe it or not, the biggest thing that keeps you addicted is your mindset. And if you keep thinking to yourself, oh, I can't have that, or, oh, I'm deprived, I could never give that up. Oh, maybe I'll just give it up for a week. See how that's really sabotaging? Or even if you say, and this was my mistake that I made in the beginning when I gave up sugar, I gave it up for a year. And the day 366, I was eating, and it wasn't sugar per se, but it was like, I was eating raw foods at the time. So I started adding back in like grains and started adding back in like honey and dates and things. And before you knew it, I was back like on the addiction. It didn't take long. So it's really about just saying, I'm committed to this, and I don't so here's a great wording to think about, because English is basically a spell. So we can weave good spells or we can weave bad spells. So what kind of spell are we weaving with what we're saying to other people about how we're eating, or even to ourselves? Like if we keep saying, oh, I'm so deprived, or is this going to really work? Or just like not believing in it, that's going to just kind of keep you in sabotage mode. So really it's like, hey, I'm not choosing to eat this right now. Like if you're out with your friends, like I'm choosing to feel healthy and vibrant. And if if it's hard to explain to your friends why you're not drinking wine or eating sugar, just say, I'm trying an experiment right now, and I'm really choosing to, quit eating sugar and just see how that feels. And so no one can argue with that. Like, I just want to experiment and see how it feels. I want to, feel more healthy and vibrant in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of saying, oh, I can't have that when someone asks you if you want a donut, saying, oh yeah, no, I don't eat donuts. It feels so much better to say, oh yeah, no, I don't eat donuts. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat sugar. Not as a judgment to the other person, but yeah, I just don't eat that.
Yeah, and you don't have to be perfect either. I mean, this has taken Elena and I a long time to perfect, and that's why we're so passionate about coaching other women through this process. And if we're saying mindset and you're just like, oh, I don't even know how that even works, like, how do I change my mindset? Like, it's okay to not be there yet. Like, a mindset switch takes a lot of commitment to feeling worthy of doing something for yourself. That's a really good mindset to change. Am I worthy of being healthy? Am I worthy of showing up every day with energy and a good mood? Am I worthy of turning down that treat? You know, that's really a big thing to overcome. And that's why in our coaching program, we go so much deeper into the emotional ties that we have with food. And that's why we do meditation practice to really go inward and introspective and really look at yourself and where are you sabotaging because you don't feel worthy. Like, those emotions are so deep rooted, and it could have been triggered from something that happened in your childhood. Like, for example, for me, my parents always fought, and my thing was, I'm going to give myself this sugary treat because I can hide in my room and they can do that. It's like we're trying to cover up certain things, and that's okay. And that's why we're here to show you it's not just about saying no to the treat, but like actually believing in yourself that you don't need that, or you don't want that, or you are worthy of not having these cravings and not having sugar or whatever it is control your life. So that's why the mindset is such a big one for us, because we can eat all the healthy food in the world, and if our mindset isn't there, then we're still not healthy. And I know for me, this was the biggest switch in my autoimmune journey. Was I felt like I was doing everything right, but my mind wasn't worthy of being healthy and vibrant. I wasn't gaining weight. My hair was still falling out, even though I was doing all the right things. And until I really dove deep into my emotional body and meditation and just like breath and faith and everything, is when really my health took a turn for the best. So just
Yeah,
wanted
and I got to witness that journey even after you had done a lot of the work, like just starting to really get on the lower carb program and like finding the right foods that work for you. And it is different for everyone. So like, experimenting is okay too. And just seeing, hey, if I eliminate sugar for this month, like, everything that triggers my sweet tooth, and then I add it back in, oh yeah, that one didn't seem to bother me. Like a teaspoon of honey in my tea didn't trigger me at all. But oh boy, when I ate those cookies with, agave in them, wow, that really like made me want to keep eating them. So, and it does tie into the emotional piece. And what I found for me, like we all have different triggers. Some of it is true hunger, but for me, the emotional piece is this deservability. Like we think, oh, I deserve a treat because I worked hard today, or I deserve a treat because, I didn't eat lunch, or whatever it is. And I know a lot of us do this with the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We've been so programmed to eat 3 meals a day, and then of course there's snacks. But like, let's say you skipped lunch or you didn't have time for lunch. In our minds, even if we're not hungry, we think, oh, but like I didn't have lunch, so I'm going to have dinner. And we find ourselves even justifying it to other people. Like I'm going to have extra because I skipped lunch. And, it's more about really going back and listening to the body. And I find there's days where I'm just really not that hungry. And yes, there are days that I override that because I'm like, well, I just, want to eat. So all of us are human. And it's not about making ourselves guilty or bad or wrong. It's about becoming the witness. And if we can become the witness to all of these little, games we play, whatever you want to look at it, this unworthiness, this I deserve a treat, these games, and we don't say you're bad for wanting that. We just say, oh, I'm noticing that that's what I'm doing right now. And then maybe go ahead and have the treat anyway if you want. But then the next time, it's like you're calling it out. You're like, I see you, this habit that doesn't serve me. And what is it about this habit that keeps me wanting to do that? Like, if I'm not hungry and I know I gain weight and I know my blood sugar goes up, like, why am I doing this? And really, maybe you don't even need to have the answer. Because I think so many of us think we have to have the answer already to everything. Really, the witness, and that's why, Caitlin brought up meditation. When we meditate, we're just watching ourselves. We're not like saying, oh, you're bad because you had a thought. You go, oh, I had a thought. And then you go back to the breath. Or like, oh yeah, I noticed this. I keep thinking about this situation every time I sit down to meditate. Just notice it. That's it, witnessing. And I think that's a huge piece.
Definitely. And I see Sumi in the chat box says the time that she changed now, or she's changing now because she got this diagnosis of pre-diabetes. And I can totally attest to not hearing the call to change until we get this diagnosis. And that definitely was what it was for me. And I think that's really inspiring too. She said that she's no longer pre-diabetic, which is really exciting. But let's try for everyone not to get that wake-up call. Like, I tell myself this all the time, like, please, higher self, give me the message before I get a hard and fast wake up call, because
Can
that, and I think, and I,
I,
what was that?
I said, can I get an amen?
Right? And I think that's why hopefully a lot of us are here. We had 350 women join this challenge. And if you've stuck with us these last 3 days, we are just so proud of you, because this is the first step. Like, you are saying yes to yourself before you get yourself into a pickle.
Yeah, and also just a quick reminder of the if then, and I won't go back into it in great detail, but like, hey, I know I have this bad habit, so let me write down four if thens. Like, maybe it's not practical to go on a run because it's 10 o'clock at night, but pick out an if then that you're gonna do before you indulge. And like, I'm the same as Caitlin and Sumi, is that I had really bad systemic candida, and I was really motivated to change. Like, something in me was like, I'm done with the eczema. I don't want to feel this way. But I didn't know that diet worked until I read a book called Cleanse and Purify that said, hey, this woman reversed this person reversed that, this person got better from that, all by, going on a healthy diet, cutting out sugar, and, cleansing the body, which we'll get into it another time. But, there is some kind of motivation. So again, going back to the why, if you have your why in mind, like, make it a really good why. And it might take like 3 steps. Like, oh, I want to lose weight. Well, why do I want to lose weight? Oh, well, I want to feel good in my clothes. Okay, why do you want to feel good in your clothes? Because, in the end, what comes to me for my why is that, like, I want to walk out in the world feeling good about myself. And I know that I'll be more confident, and I'll be able to be more interactive with more people, and I'll feel more successful in life in general. Like, that little thing of feeling good in my body has such a ripple effect. So really dig deep into what that why is. Don't just take the first, like, I want to lose 10 pounds, because that's not enough to motivate us. It's really not. I can tell you for sure. There has to be a deeper meaning.
Mm-hmm. And I love Kathy just said, not just your why, but also your how. And I think that's really important too, is not just having this why in mind, but actually having a step-by-step action plan to get yourself there. Because when we have a plan, and this is why we do these coaching programs, is because when you have something to stick to and follow every day and show up for, like, you're showing up for yourself, plus like everyone else in the coaching program, you're accountable, like, you have the steps to really make the changes. Because if we're saying, yeah, I want to give up sugar and this is my why, I don't want to be pre-diabetic, but you don't know where to start, like, that's why you're all here too, I'm assuming, because you need a plan of action and where to start.
And I mean, basically what Caitlin and I are alluding to, like I mentioned it the last 2 days, and you just mentioned it now, but we have, for those of you who are new, we have a 1-month program, and it's called Keto Gone Green. And it's basically a plant-based diet and you can just call it a low-carb plant-based diet. If the word keto feels triggering to you, or you're like, I heard that doesn't work, the what you would call like a junk food keto or a dirty keto doesn't work. People are eating really bad kinds of meat. They're overeating dairy and meat and eggs, and just too much acidity. Ours is an alkalizing program, and we give you a step-by-step, day-by-day. Like, today you get a lesson on journaling, and you get your week-long menu plan, and you get even like your shopping list and all the recipes, and how many, we count all the macros for you. Like, how many carbs you're getting, and everything is super low glycemic. So we've done all the work up front for you, and that's your how. Like, you're going to step into, like, I know I want to do this. So for 30 days, I'm going to do it with these up to 90 women, however many join us. I'm going to do it together with this group. And there's something about that solidarity of doing it together. And again, when Caitlin and I do it, like, I love doing it with you guys and doing, like, the same recipes and just jumping in there and really doing it. It feels super good. And over, we hear from people saying, like, one woman that hadn't run in years was like, I jogged up my driveway. I was on a hill from my mailbox. Like, just these little things that people thought they would never do again. Suddenly they have this new zest for life. And so you just never know what's going to come out of it. And it's so huge to have the support.
Yeah, I think that's a big one about the how is actually having the support and being, we all think we're these unique beings having these unique experiences. And of course we are, but so many women were all thinking the same thing. I'm not worthy. I already said that one. Like all of these same thoughts we think are just our unique story. But when we really get down to it and we really connect with others, like these women who have taken this program, like Jules is on the call today, and Ava is joining us again, like these women who have done it before, like you get to hear the stories of like, this is what happened. I was where you are at now. And I think that's really powerful too, to know that like we're not alone in this and we're experiencing similar things. And that's like part of being human. And that's why we're here to support each other.
Yeah. And the hormone piece really comes into play with it too, because I think of a lot of our, when we get out of balance with eating and with, a lot of these unhealthy habits, a lot of it has to do with our hormones being imbalanced, no matter what age we are. As women, we just have such hormonal fluctuations every month. And so we address that piece too with like medicinal mushrooms and some of the balancing foods and like how to get your hormones back in balance. And you can become a whole new person just by that. Like a lot of like what Caitlin, what you experienced with your, autoimmune, you weren't overweight. You were just puffy because of the inflammation, and it had nothing to do with like what you were eating. It was, well, it was, but it wasn't like that you were overeating. It was just that your things, stress and whatnot, was creating this inflammation. And a lot of that can happen to us. We suddenly go, oh my God, like everything kind of went away. And I didn't eat any less food. It's just the inflammation goes down, but you're just making different choices.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to answer one question because Sumi is, she typed in the chat that she's currently in our level 1 certification program. And is it too much to do both at once? And I know this isn't relevant for a lot of you, but I do want to answer this because the 1 month program is definitely a commitment to yourself, and you're going to learn a ton of new recipes. So giving yourself a few extra hours on the weekend to do some meal prep, which we say preparing is the first step to actually doing this program right, or doing any sort of new diet program right, is you have to make the time to prepare. So I think this coincides with anything else in life that you're doing. You're just adding in super, super healthy, nourishing recipes, and you get to attend our live coaching calls. I mean, it's really like an extra hour on a Friday, an extra hour on a Tuesday that you're with us, and then whatever time you want to commit to yourself during the week to be reading through the lessons and things like this. This isn't like, 8 hours a day type thing, but you do want to make some extra time for yourself to commit.
Right. And you have to prepare food anyway. So you may as well prepare the food that we're teaching you, because then you're going to benefit so much from it. And I just want to say on that note too, that a lot of the like creating new patterns is a big part of this. So, if you're always having, a treat at night, some of the recipes we give you, like this one even today, it's just like switching them up. So it's not really about like taking away and depriving. And one of our pillars, we have 3 pillars, and one of them is satisfaction, because we really believe that you need to have these satisfying foods, lots of fat. Actually, we promote a heavy fat diet and just low carbs. So if you're someone that's eating a ton of like fruits and high carbs and you're not eating any fat, if you switch it, you're going to notice that your body starts to utilize fat for energy, and you feel amazing. Like, so maybe if you're having issues with blood sugar and you just do that switch, it's amazing to see what happens, because the brain is 60% fat. So it's brain food, and more and more of us need this nourishment for our brains, like with Alzheimer's and everything that's going on the planet. So many people having brain fog and memory loss, and people my age just think it's normal. Oh, I don't remember things anymore. Oh, my vision's going really bad. It's just age. I'm like, it doesn't, no, I'm proof it doesn't have to happen. You don't have to lose your memory. You don't have to lose your eyesight. You can eat a super healthy diet and get all that back. Like, we should be living till 100, be super healthy and vibrant, or longer.
Well, and I think the key piece people miss is sugar is like it's one of the most toxic things to the brain. It creates neurotoxins and inflammation in the brain, and that's where brain fog comes. It makes us retain more water, which also gets in our brain, and it's like overall more inflaming. So no to the sugar. And on that note, like the sweet treats, and I know we were going to cover how to get your family on board, but these are just swaps. So we're swapping out a regular cookie dough with this healthy version that's anti-inflammatory, doesn't have all that sugar in it, doesn't have any dairy, it doesn't have any of the common allergens. So this is a great way to get your family on board. And time again, the people in the program have said how much their family loves these. So don't be scared of that either. And maybe getting rid of the word diet. I saw that word come up in the chat box a second ago, and not looking at this as a diet. This is just a new lifestyle that you're trying, because diet has so many negative triggers to it. And for your family, this is just, we're trying something new. Let's all get on board to try something new for a month. Anyone can do anything for 28 days. I mean, seriously, that is like, if you have that in your head and taking it day by day, like that is such a small fragment of time in your life to really see if you can move from something that you've been doing that hasn't worked to something that maybe could work. So that's,
yeah. I want to mention briefly too, like you are an example, Caitlin, of like your boyfriend. When you met Bryce, like he wasn't eating like this, and now you have to hide stuff from him, like your healthy stuff, because he wants to eat it all. And I know Kathy, who's a longtime keto camper, she says the same thing now about her husband. She's like, my husband, like, because at first you don't get them on board, and then eventually they're like eating all your food, which is a good thing, but you have to make more. And also just getting people in the kitchen, like the kids love, like this would be a great recipe to have a kid help you measure everything. And since a lot of people are homeschooling, like you teach them like how many tablespoons are in a quarter cup, and you really use cooking as learning, and then let them do all the like putting the ingredients into the food processor, and then they're 10 times more likely to want to eat it if they got to help make it. And I think we all know that, but just a reminder.
And I actually do have a funny story on my boyfriend. He told me actually this story last night. He said, we were a few months into dating, and I went over to my buddy's house, and because I made these cookies last night, which are part of the upcoming keto program. And he was like, and I binged on cookies and pizza. And he's like, and I didn't tell you. And the guy I was with said, my wife will not let me eat this stuff at home, so I'm going to eat as much as I possibly can here. And he was saying how he could never do that today, because once he kicked into ketosis, I think this was like a year after we were dating, he finally really got on board and really wanted to clean out his body. He was like, I don't even want that stuff anymore. Like if I had the chance to binge on cookies and pizza, I would not be able to do it. Like I wouldn't even want to. So it's like the small changes that don't happen overnight, but once you get a clean vessel and you feel what that feels like, it's so much easier to stick with. So with the family, like it could take a few weeks for them to really clean out and start change, because your taste buds change, you start craving different things, your palate really does change, but it does take some getting used to, and just like moving forward with that, like changing the palate, getting used to it, and cleaning out, and really having them feel what it feels like. Because I could never not tell him to eat that stuff. Now he said I would never again. And that is like such a huge win.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, like for you, Caitlin, I know is like you were doing most of the cooking, so he was just like, well, she's a good cook, and I just want to eat her food. And so you almost trick them that you don't have to tell them it's sugar-free. Just like, oh, here's some cookies I made. Honestly, that's what these people are doing a lot of times in our courses. They're just like making the food, and the people are eating it, and the family, and nobody's saying, oh, it's good for you. Like that's the worst thing you could say to a kid. They're like, I don't want it if it's good for me. Just like, oh, don't eat too many of my cookies, and then they're like, they want them, so
Yeah.
want to reverse psychology on them, but just make it available, but don't push it on them. And that's the other thing that I find. It's so precious. Don't push this healthy food on them, because it might have the opposite effect. So really it's just about being an example and talking about how yummy it tastes and involving them.
I love that. I love that. Well, why don't we get to the recipe, and then we can answer some more questions when you're done.
All right, I like that. I'm just going to switch screens. Okay, so we are going to, you can see my board, right? No, yeah, now you can see it. Okay, so we are going to use a food processor today. Yesterday we used a blender. Today we're using a food processor. And this is actually a really easy recipe. I'm going to start with my 2 kinds of fat. One of them is coconut butter, and I just happen to have this brand today. It's called Artisana. But like you can go into any store and find either coconut butter or coconut manna. Now, coconut butter, for those of you who are new, has the actual coconut in it. And just think of like almond butter. All they've done is taken dried coconut, like shredded dried coconut, and turned it into butter. Most of the time they do a stone grinder. Coconut oil obviously means the fiber has been removed and it's just the fat. So we're doing the combo. So I've got 1/4 cup of each. And I melted this down. You can see behind me there's a little saucepan. And I just put the jar like this into the hot water on low. and I let it warm up because a lot of times it's really solid. And if you have a dehydrator, you could also use that to warm it up. So this is about a 1/4 cup of coconut butter, and then a 1/4 cup of coconut oil. And it's about, I would say it's probably about 65 degrees in my house, and it's still pretty soft. So, it just has to be the consistent, like if you think of you left regular butter out on the counter at room temperature, you want it to be about that consistency. And then the next ingredient we're going to use is, I'm not going to go in any particular order, but so you got Lecanto on your recipe list there, and it says 3 tablespoons or less. And I'm a person that I've really gotten accustomed to using less sweetener. I actually enjoy it when it's less sweet. But this is my jar of Lecanto, and it's white. And I powdered it down in the blender to get it so it's not gritty. Because if you just use it straight out of the package, it can be kind of gritty because it's like pretty big chunks. So I just take it and put it either in a spice grinder or in the blender and grind it into a flour. And then that way you don't get that grit. Because I told you guys yesterday I don't do as well with the Lecanto, I'm just going to use a tiny bit of coconut sugar. And this is really just for flavor. This is a little less than a tablespoon. I'm not even going to use a whole tablespoon. And then what I'm going to use to sweeten it is stevia. And this one is company, I don't know if you put the link up there, Caitlin, but it's a company, Pyure is the brand name. It's like pure with a Y. And 1/16 this size is pretty potent for most people. So you can start with that. And the only reason I put the coconut sugar in is really just for flavor, to give it like that caramely flavor. If I put all stevia, I would be fine with it, but people that I serve it to might be like, oh, I taste the stevia. So that's why I do that masking. And again, the Lecanto will work perfectly fine. The next ingredient I'm going to put in, and this is an optional item, is some kind of medicinal mushroom or longevity. You guys have probably heard of things like cordyceps, lion's mane, turkey tail, reishi, chaga. These are all come in powdered form. And our longevity in a bottle is kind of all of those plus some medicinal herbs. And that'll just, a teaspoon into the cookies. No one will know what's in there. It's just going to add extra nutrition, extra brain food, and extra immune boosting power. All right, so, and then the salt. We always put a little salt in, 1/4 teaspoon. This again is that high mineral. If you can see in the camera, it's kind of got color in it. It's from Utah. It's called real salt. And then my vanilla. You can use vanilla extract, which has alcohol, like a teaspoon of it. We use a company called Medicine Flower, and this is alcohol-free extract, and we call it an essence because it's like using essential oil. You only need 6 drops to equal 1 teaspoon, so it's very potent. This bottle will last most people, if you're doing a lot of cooking, 3 to 6 months. The other flavors, like if you got the blueberry or something, last like a year or longer because you only need little drops and things. So now what I'm going to do is puree everything, and then I'm going to wait to add the coconut flour and the sugar-free chocolate chips. And Caitlin, did you give them the link for Lily's chocolate chips on their recipe?
I don't believe there was a link, but I did mention Lily's.
Yeah, and most people can find it, like Natural Grocers carries it for sure.
Yeah.
All I'm going to do now, and this is kind of a small batch, you could definitely double 2 times this batch. I'm going to just turn it on and let it kind of puree up. This is exactly like doing a cookie recipe where the first thing you do is just butter your sugar and butter. Like you usually use a mixer, like in the old days when I made cookies, you mix the butter and sugar together first, and then you add your flour. This is almond flour, and it's blanched, but you can also take your own nuts or seeds like pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds, grind them in a blender and make a flour out of those. Any nut or seed would work. I just like this almond flour because it's already made for me. It makes my life super easy. And then I'm going to puree this in. You can like pulse it in, or you can mix it by hand. I'm going to pulse it in. Maybe I'll turn it on for a second. It's going to get quite thick. You can see on the sides how it's starting to butter, but the top's not doing it. So I'm just going to scrape the sides down, and then let's just go ahead and put it in a bowl. I think that's going to make it a little easier for mixing. Got a bowl right here. There's always something I forget to put out. This time it was the bowl. Comes out. Okay, move that aside so you guys can see what I'm doing here with the dough. It looks just like cookie dough. I remember the days back when I would eat regular cookie dough, like I would just buy those rolls and instead of baking it, just eat it raw. Come a long way, haven't we? All right, this is great. So what I'm looking for is, see, when I squeeze it with my hands, it's gonna butter up nicely. So I'm using, it says a quarter to a half a cup of chocolate chips. I'm just gonna do a quarter because I think that's plenty. Plus I also melted some chocolate chips to put over the top. So I don't think I need that many chocolate chips. So start with a quarter. That's enough for most people. And if you're not familiar with Lily's brand, they make all kinds of chocolate bars. So you could even chop up like a regular, like one of their mint chocolate bar or whatever you like and add it in. All right, so now I've got this beautiful big cookie dough ball. Yay! A cookie dough ball for a giant. Then I'm going to take, I already lined a little, I have these tiny little cafeteria trays, but if you've got just like a little small baking tray that can fit in the fridge, that works, or even a plate. And I'm gonna use this. This is just one of those, melon ballers or like little mini ice cream scoops. This size might even be bigger than I want because these are quite rich. Pull that over so you guys can see. And then I'm just going to do that. Pull it onto the tray. If you don't have one of these, just use a tablespoon. What size did you make yours, Caitlin, when you made them? Did you do a tablespoon?
Yeah, I did that size.
Okay. Yeah, this is good. It's kind of like one. I mean, it's definitely, you don't need more than one because they are quite rich. You saw the fat that went into this. But this is such a great choice when you're craving a cookie or craving some little treat just to have on hand. And these will last in your fridge for probably a good, probably up to a month. And you can also freeze these. But most people eat them within that time period, so you probably don't really need to freeze them. There we go. I'm just going to finish this off so I can put the chocolate over the top and show you how I do that. So this will make, so far I've got 3 times 4, 12, and I've got 2 more in the bowl. So that'll make about 14, which is great. It's quite a bit. So now I've used that same saucepan and I put one of these little Pyrex bowls over the top. And I put in the chocolate chips. I put in a 1/4 cup. I think your recipe calls for 1/2 cup possibly. I just put in a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips with 1 tablespoon of coconut oil, and I melted that down. And then what I'm going to do is just, you could do a couple things. You could pick it up. You could refrigerate these first and get them solid, then pick it up and dip it in like that, so it's got like its own little topping. You could also just drizzle like a little dollop on top of each one, which I think is really pretty. So really, there's no right or wrong with this. And it's such a creative little outlet. Think about this. Keep this one in mind when the holidays are coming and you're like, what about Christmas cookies? You could put cinnamon in these. You could just use this base and really change up the flavor however you want. This actually made quite a bit, so I probably don't even need to use it all. But there we go. We've got our chocolate chip cookie dough balls.
Yummy.
Those will be ready to eat. I wouldn't eat them warm. I like them cold. You can eat them warm, but they'll be ready in literally 15 minutes. So this is something you could make up. You got a craving, just make this up, and in 15 minutes, you're going to be eating cookie dough balls.
Yeah, and Kathy asks, I know it's dangerous to eat raw flour. Is almond flour safe because it's a nut flour?
Yeah, the raw food diet is kind of based on almonds. We eat a ton of raw almonds. And these have been blanched already, so like the outer fiber, which might be a little bit more acidic, is gone. So the white almond flour is great. So yeah, we eat nuts and seeds raw most of the time. I prefer actually not to really use high temperatures on nuts and seeds because it can destroy their healthy oils.
Mm-hmm. And Estella asks, what can you use instead of the oil in the cookie? And probably more coconut butter, right?
Yeah, just double the coconut butter. Or you could do a 1/4 cup of coconut butter and a 1/4 cup of almond butter or something like that. Just use any kind of nut or seed butter in place of the oil. It's fine. The reason we use that coconut oil is it really sets it up to be solid, but you absolutely don't have to use it. Or you could just skip it all together if you want. It'll be a little bit different texture.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Any more questions? Well, if anyone has any questions about the recipe or they have any questions or comments about the challenge in general, I made it so you can actually unmute yourself. You can come on camera or just speak or just write your questions in the comment in the chat box. And Melissa, one more question. Melissa asked, can we use cacao butter instead? Yeah.
If you were to use cacao butter, I would only use like a tablespoon, because think about cacao butter. When you take that out, I'll show you guys for those of you who aren't familiar. Look at my sunflower that I grew in my own backyard.
Oh my gosh, it's huge.
I actually started to tear up today. Like, look at that. Like, that nature did that. Like, I was looking at it and I started to cry.
Wow, that's beautiful.
What was I getting, Caitlin? Now I've lost my train of thought.
Cacao butter.
Cacao. Yeah, so the reason we would only use a tiny bit of it is look how hard it is. And you'd have, your teeth would have to chomp through that in the form of a cookie. And it's like rock hard. So I would say if you're gonna use it, melt it down and maybe use like a tablespoon in place of the quarter cup of coconut butter. It's a lot more solid than coconut oil. I mean, not coconut butter, coconut oil. There we go.
There we go.
Smells good though.
Oh, it smells so good.
You can rub skin too.
Yeah. So ask, how much coconut sugar did you add since it's not in the recipe, and if I make it for someone to mask the stevia taste?
In place of Lakanto, so it said 1 to 3 tablespoons, half of a tablespoon, because I still have the other half right here. So that's only 1.5 teaspoons. Very little, and that'll be for 14. So if you divide 1.5 teaspoons by 14, you're just getting like less than a gram of sugar per cookie. So it's negligible. And I just kind of like that flavor for me because my gut doesn't love the Lakanto, but everybody's different. So try it out and see how your gut does on it.
And then Denise asks, she doesn't have the real salt or the Celtic salt. What salt could she use?
You know, I wouldn't use I wouldn't use iodized, and I mean, sea salt's okay if that's what you've got, but then when you run out of sea salt, go ahead and buy the real salt and start using that. And it's in most health food stores. It's called Redmond Real Salt. Just use up what you've got, but if you've got the Morton's iodized salt, use that as a foot bath. Don't eat that. Put it in a foot bath or in your bathtub and go ahead and buy some healthy salt. You're gonna notice a huge difference. You're not gonna get bloated and puffy from it anymore because that stuff's super processed and not good for us.
Yeah, we don't want to use that one. All right. Well, while everyone's thinking of their burning questions and comments, I want to I see actually a lot of you who are already in our Keto Gone Green program. I see Jules here, Ava, and Lima and Kay. I see a lot of you here, but I just want to know, like, how many of you haven't done our Keto Gone Green program before? There's probably quite a few of you. Just write in the chat box or give you a wave. Kathy hasn't. I know Sumi hasn't. Yeah. So as part of the challenge, I mean, we really love that so many of you have stuck with us till the end, and we want to give you guys some bonuses. And besides participating in the challenge and putting your name on that sheet, you've stuck with us to the end of this call. So for any of you interested in joining the program, I have 3 special discount links that I'm going to share. 3 special spots, which is a $200 off savings. And the reason why I did this is because not only are we going through some challenging times. I know we're all facing a lot right now. The world is a bit of an upheaval, and we just want to support you guys. And we actually haven't given this price since we first started this program over 4 years ago. So it's $200 off the regular ticket price for our October 1st or October 2nd start date. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat box, and the first 3 of you who sign up will get that $200 off. And this is just our way to have you guys join us without, having any strain on you. And if you don't get those 3 spots, because I know those are going to get taken up quickly. Just know that as part of the challenge, continue making your recipes and posting them. We're going to pick one winner, and that's going to be next Tuesday. And that winner is going to get $100 off the program plus access free for our January program. So as you know, we do these every change of season, so 4 times a year, and really doing it with us for a month is amazing. And then having your plan for January, like think about that. You can go through the holidays knowing that in January, you're also going to have another guided coaching program ready for you with some new recipes for the winter, and just that extra support. So the winner is going to get that, which I'm super excited about. And then we're going to pick 5 random winners after that to get another discount of $50 off the program that starts October 2nd. So if you don't get those 3 spots, oh shoot, sorry, I did it again. The link didn't post. There it is. So those are the 3 spots for the huge discount. If you don't get that and you still want to sign up, because tomorrow actually we're sending out the week 1 recipe book, shopping list, meal plan, and all your instructions. So if you want to get ahead of the game before we start next Friday, which will be a week from tomorrow, then you can go ahead and sign up. And if you do end up winning, being one of the challenge winners, we'll definitely refund you whatever prize that you won off of that registration price. So don't worry about that if you want to get started right away.
Awesome. And we're just really looking forward to an awesome class. I mean, fall and winter are my favorite times of year. I love the heartier soups and the breads. We actually make a keto bread that's delicious. It's an almond-based bread. And we have so much fun together with our group too. Everybody just interacting, and we come on live with you twice a week. And it's just super fun and interactive.
Yeah, I'm just making sure that everyone saw that link.
Yeah.
I did that. I do see though, Denise has her hand raised. So Denise, do you want to ask your question? Let's see.
Just unmute yourself.
She should be unmuted now. Where'd she go?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Really good.
Good. I just put my question in the chat. My question had to do with the spreadsheet. I tried to go in yesterday, but I wasn't able to add my name. And I did send an email to you guys of the tonic that I made. So I don't know if you received it or not, but I did send a picture.
Okay, yeah, Denise, I did receive your email, and you can just keep sending me pictures.
Okay.
I'll reply to your email and make sure you get on the spreadsheet too. We can get that figured out for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's not always easy. Sometimes it might seem simple to like someone like Caitlin, but some of us are like a little more, it's hard to get figured out if it's new to you. So don't worry about it. Yeah.
And there's always technical glitches. So I'll help you out.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, we just want to really encourage you guys to make these cookies. I can't wait to see your photos. I know somebody yesterday already made theirs ahead of time because they weren't going to be available today. So
yes, Sonia made hers ahead of time. And for the question that Sumi, you had about, can you still do the certification and the Keto Go Green at the same time? Like, how does that work? Will you have enough time for both? Sonia is actually in our level 1 and 2 and in the Keto Go Green, and she's joining us again. So that's a little bit of inspiration. She couldn't make it today, but.
Yeah, she might be good to answer that. But I would say, Sumi, for you that if you're doing our level 1 online and you're doing the Keto Go Green, the recipes are different. So you're going to maybe have to put your level 1 aside just for the month, or not make as many recipes from that, and focus more on our Keto Go Green program, which is a mix of raw and cooked recipes. And they're a little bit different. But it's up to you really, however you want to manage it, because you will have access to this class even after the program ends.
Yes, definitely. Yay, it looks like all of our spots have already filled, perhaps.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any question or comments? And like I said, if you didn't get any of those 3 spots, please, please, please still join the challenge, because you have more opportunities to get some good bonuses and prizes. And we'll be sure to announce those on Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, we just want to thank you guys for joining us. This has been really fun 3 days. It went by so quickly. And just if don't feel like you're behind, like if you haven't done your recipes yet, you have the whole weekend. You have all the way till Tuesday to get them all done in there. Just you could get it in the kitchen and do them all 3 at the same time, because you got a drink, you got a beverage, you got a soup, and you got a dessert. It'd be a meal.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, we'll be in touch on the Facebook group, And we're going to bring another challenge to you probably in January or something similar. So keep in that Facebook group. We're always posting inspirational stuff in there, and you can always ask any of your questions that you didn't get answered here and there. And if you did just join us, I see all the spots have been filled, then you'll be added to our private Facebook support group with all the other ladies. We have over 500 members in there. So it's going to be a really, really fun month. And, just bear with us, those of you in the challenge group on Tuesday, because we start on Friday and it is our baby, Elena and I, and we just spend and dedicate ourselves to this program for the month. So we will be busy girls.
Yeah. And I just want to say one more thing that, the holidays are coming. And if you join us for October, it's going to give you such a jump start for your holidays, because people start this time of year generally, I would say a large percentage of the population just, oh, well, the holidays are coming. I may as well. And so like if you get this month under your belt and then the holidays come, you're going to be so prepared. You're going to have all these great recipes, and you're not going to gain that 5 or 10 pounds over the holidays because you've got, you're on board already. So this is a great time. October, the beginning of fall, is a great time to just get going and just keep going, and don't like have to wait till January to do all your resolutions. Like, just start now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Kathy asks, is the cauliflower soup good for breaking a fast? Yes, it's actually in our cleansing class. So yes, it's great for a fast.
It's perfect. Good question.
Good question. All right, well, it's so nice to see all of you here, and we'll see you in the Facebook group.
All right. See you next time.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Leslie. Bye, Jules and Ava. Can't wait to see you guys next week. Bye.